Hello again, everyone. It's Addie, and welcome to the final week of 30 Inks, 30 Days for April 2024. The last week of the month, I chose the theme of Shimmer inks, so every ink from that week will be a shimmer, and the last 2 days have a special theme that you'll see if you stay till the end. Let's get started. The pen that I chose for day 22 is my Noodler's Ahab Flex pen. I did have some of the commonly known smell issues with this pen when I first got it, which I was able to mostly reduce by cooking it under a UV light. It actually helped quite a bit. I haven't had very many problems with this pen. I know that some people need to heat set it. I really haven't had to do anything with it. It's just sort of worked. I think I got lucky with this one. The ink is Vinta Sodalite Shimmer, Kislap 1891. It is a blue-green base with blue-green shimmer. I'm going to be showing you a few Vinta inks this week. I do find that Vinta shimmers are very shiny, sometimes shiny to the point of really making a mess. I think all shimmer inks tend to leave shimmer on the opposite page, but I feel that Vinta inks might do that a little bit more. That could just be because of the quantity of the shimmer. It's also a little harder to tell with samples if you've actually gotten the correct shimmer proportion in a sample. I love Vanness, which is where all of these came from, but I'm sure it's not completely scientific, the amount of shimmer that gets into each sample vial. I do find this ink to be very pretty. It behaves very well in the Noodler's pen. I don't have any issues with skipping. I tend to keep a shimmer ink in that Ahab because I don't feel very precious about it, and I use it a lot for titling in my journal. This is a good ink. A little shiny, but it's a good one. For day 23, I used my Dian N23 with a long blade nib. I've used this in previous weeks. I'm kind of hung up on this pen right now. I don't know why I like it so much. It just is very comfortable to write with. I like the broader nib. It's turning into one of my favorites. I have to thank Grace for penabling me on that one. She has the blue one. I like the blue too. The ink is Birmingham Pen Company Triumph Tulip Twinkle. This is one of their shimmer inks. It's a muted purple base with a light purple shimmer that almost reads silver. Again, I didn't have any issues with writing with this one. It performs really well. It didn't seem to clog. It didn't skip. This isn't a flex pen, so I don't have flex pen issues. And purple ink, I'm doing song lyrics this week, so needed to do a section from Purple Rain. The purple base has a lot of blue in it, and with that light purple shimmer, it's a really nice color. It's very readable without being too dark. It has a high amount of sheen. It's a very attractive ink though. And for day 24, I decided to use my Jinhau X159 that has a fountain pen Revolution flex nib in it. And this is the pen that I use a lot for ink testing, so I opted to dip this pen instead of fill it. And the ink that I chose is Diamine Tropical Glow. This bottle of ink is quite old. And by quite old, I mean it's got to be close to 10 years old. It's a dark blue green with a lighter blue-green shimmer. I really like the color of this. I'm not really sure why I have this ink, because when I bought it, I was in the mindset of I wanted a muted green, a muted red, and a black. And those were the three inks that I was going to use for note-taking in my journal. And I picked Vert Empire by J. Herbon. for my green, and I picked, I believe it was red black, Noodler's red black for my red. And then I bought a bottle of this Shimmer bright blue-green ink. I'm not sure what I was thinking. The quote is from a Van Morrison song. Unfortunately, though, it either doesn't behave well or the bottle is old. I'm not going to blame the ink because it could be that the properties have changed since it is older, but it bled through entirely onto the previous page on the larger ink swatch, and it also had some feathering. Not terrible, but more so than others. It is a nice, little bit darker blue-green. I do like this one a lot. I just don't like how it acted on the page. And for day 25, I am using my Fountain Pen Revolution Jaipur version 1. It's a 5.5 Ultraflex nib. And the ink is Vinta Inks Peg Tengi 1958 Clouds of Gray. And I've used up this sample, which is always a cause for celebration. This is a very nice gray ink with a gold shimmer. It reminds me a little bit of Waringel's I Am a Cat, but the gray in Peg Tangy is darker. Do really have a soft spot for gray shimmer inks, though. And the quote today is from a song by Husker Du. As I was getting to the bottom of this sample, though, the shimmer ratio is off. I'm sure of it because there's almost more shimmer than ink. And you can tell in the larger swatch that it's a lot of shimmer, too much shimmer. And on to day 26, I'm using my Fountain Pen Revolution Himalaya version 2 with a number 6 Ultra Flex nib. And the ink that I'm using is Ferris Wheel Press Cabernet on the Lake. This was a bottle of ink given to me by my husband, and I love a burgundy red ink. The shimmer that's in this ink is very apparent, but not overbearing. It's, to me, this ink has my preferred level of shimmer. And the ink itself, I've put it in maybe 3 or 4 pens at this point. It works great in all of them. So I know shimmer inks and sometimes Ferris Wheel Press can be a little touchy. This one just behaves well. And the quote today is from Devil's Thunder by Rachel Cantu. I do like this ink a lot, so I'm happy that I have a bottle of it, even though it is a shimmer and it might take me a little while to go through. I feel more comfortable writing with this one in a journal or longer writing because the shimmer is less pronounced. And for day 27, I'm using my LAMY Safari with a 1.5 stub nib. The ink, again, is a Vinta ink. It's Vinta Inks Tala 1980 Night Sky, which is a very dark blue with a copper or a rose gold shimmer. This is another type of shimmer ink that I have a soft spot for. I really like dark colors with shimmer. I like dark colors with shimmer if the shimmer is a little bit less than this Tala. Again, it's a sample, so I don't know if the ratio is actually correct. And the quote is from the Beatles. Because this is a broader nib, I don't write with this pen as much. I use it for titling and emphasis and notes sometimes, but it takes me a little bit longer to go through ink in this pen. It's a good ink. I like this one a lot. And then for day 28, I have another Fountain Pen Revolution Himalaya version 1 with a 5.5 Ultraflex nib. The ink in this is Troublemaker Copper Patina, which is a greenish blue ink, like the color of a patina in copper, with a gold shimmer. Now, I really want it to be copper shimmer, like copper shimmer, but it's gold shimmer. I still like the ink, but I just feel like it needs copper shimmer. Is that just me? The quote today is from a Led Zeppelin song. So all the song lyrics have something about rain. That was my quote theme. I was running out of ideas of what to write. I think it would look really neat if it had the shimmer that's in Pag Tangy, which is that more of a copper. I would like it a lot more. I like it now. It's a nice ink, but I want copper shimmer. Copper patina, I want copper shimmer. So that takes care of week 1. And before I do an overview, we'll take care of these extra 2 days. So day 29, I decided to go with a theme of my oldest pen filled with my oldest ink. And my very oldest pen is a rOtring art pen with a medium nib that I bought, I believe, in 1992. I used it for journaling. I used it quite a lot. And the ink that it's filled with is Private Reserve gray flannel. And this was the ink that I used almost exclusively for years and years and years and years. And they don't make it anymore. I mean, Private Reserve went away and then it came back. And when it came back, it remade a lot of their inks, but as far as I know, they have not remade this one or any other gray. And it's old, and I feel like it's darker than I remember, and it's probably ready to go, but it doesn't smell strange. But I don't want to let it go. And the quote is by Steve Martin. And it's funny, the pen, it's my oldest pen, and I know I wrote with it a lot, but it is not very comfortable to write with because it's a medium nib, which is not my preference anymore. And it's got some pretty serious ridges where the grip section is. And that's not a place I want a lot of texture because I already have a callus and a permanent indentation in my finger without adding to that. And for the very last day, day 30, I went with the theme of my newest pen with my newest ink. And my very newest pen is a Kaweco Sport double broad inspired by week 2 and that Dian pen. Now I want all the broad nib pens. I hadn't even inked it yet when I did this day. This was the first time it was inked. And my newest ink is Iroshizuku Kujaku, which was a gift from my husband, and I hadn't even opened it yet. So brand new pen, brand new ink. So I inked the pen and then I wrote on some test paper before I wrote in this book, and it was very, very, very wet to begin with. I think that was just from being filled the first time. It started behaving just fine after that, and it wrote well on this paper. It does have a little bit of a sheen in it when it dries, but it's a beautiful darker blue-green color. It's definitely a colored ink, but it's subtle, and the shading in it is gorgeous. So I'm very happy with this ink. So to recap the days, the last bit, doing a week of shimmers was fun. It's nice to use some of those up. They tend to accumulate because I don't usually write with them on a day-to-day basis, but some of them are just really, really beautiful. As far as my favorites of the week, I really do like the Birmingham Pen Company Triumph Tulip Twinkle. It was the first shimmer I've tried from them, and I think they do a nice job with it. The Cabernet on the Lake is a nice amount of shimmer, not too flashy, and I like the tone of the red, and it's a good writer. The not so great ones, the Diamine, it might be old, I'm not sure, but it didn't perform well, and it bled seriously through the paper. And the Peg Tangy, as much as I like it, there's too much shimmer. And don't think that that's the case for the ink in general. It could just be the sample. The last 2 days, the new ink that I got, the Kujaku, is beautiful. And I miss the Private Reserve gray flannel. And I don't really miss writing with my art pen. So just to do like a super brief overview of the whole month, I had a lot of fun with this. I love looking back on these inks and the different days, and it's a fun thing to flip through. And I think after I do this more a month, just having a book of these ink swatches is going to be something fun to look back on. And doing this was one of the first times that I ever really posted regularly on Instagram, so that was a new experience. I liked having something fountain pen related that I felt that I needed to do every day. I mean, not needed, but that was like a daily task, a small little daily fountain pen related task that wasn't just writing with the pen, but playing with ink, something small. So I might look to incorporate something like that in my day-to-day life outside of the 30 inks. Definitely planning on doing June. Again, I think I want to try to think of something to do other than quotes or writing, maybe a word or a sketch, or I don't want to look up quotes because I feel like looking up quotes took longer than anything else about this. I have a month to figure that out. Anyway, thanks for stopping back again and for coming along with me on my first 30 inks, 30 days journey. I'm looking forward to doing more. I hope everybody has a great week. I hope I get to see you guys again soon. Thanks again. Bye.